Dear Mr. Darkness, I write you again, this time to tell you today is the end. Mr. Darkness from patient number 9. Welcome to Beyond Your Radio. Welcome to a special show. Thank you forever, Ozzy Osbourne. Mr. Darkness, Mr. Trinker Train, Mr. Crowley, Hellraiser, Soul Sucker, the Madman, the Great Oz, the Godfather of Metal, Ozzy to his friends, but the one that seems to stick always is the Prince of Darkness. John Michael Osbourne, December 3rd, 1948, and he left this world on July 22nd, 2025. While I know there will be hundreds of thousands of connections, it is unfortunate that there will be none for others. But I want to plead to you about the connection, the honesty, the purity of it, and the overall truth that the impression that is left is the most important thing that anyone in any profession can make. Whether you are a musician who's made it, so to speak, a cartoonist, a video game developer, an architect, the list goes on. Leave an impression. But there are not many like this young man from the bleak industrial town. Screw the backstory. If you don't know, you can enjoy the documentaries, the stories, the pontifications. There are plenty of those, and there's professionals that can give you all of that, including Ozzy himself from his book. But that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about the legendary impression, what it means to do something or be someone like this. And maybe why so many artists and bands never find this kind of individuality, position, status, final status, if you will. In Ozzy's own words, in 1964, a funny thing happened. In 1964, I found a job I enjoyed. There's always a bit of the right place at the right time kind of thing that happens in one's life. And of course, that's certainly the storyline here. Again, you can read out how an amp got him his job, but it's all about a completely competitive environment more so. And some people that would have kind of been laid to waste in this environment. Ozzy himself even goes to one of the band members in Black Sabbath at the time. He goes, "Did you hear that Zeppelin record? Man, that's heavy." And what did they say back to him? "Will be heavier." Yep. You know, not your, it's his, what is our anti-hero, or is he a hero, right? This is the fight of their lives, his life. Black Sabbath, a fight for his soul and the soul of the band members, the straight and narrow joining choice to be on this darker side of things, but still steadying those ships, but leaving the others battered in the wake of the idea of just jumping into these waves that were a certain way they were going. And they said, screw it, we're going to go crashing into them. And we're going to frolic madly in that. And they pulled it off. And in some cases, probably set some of those boats on fire. The spirit and position he took on that stage with his bandmates back in 1960s to a few weeks ago, some of those same people and those that came to give it all they had back to him has always been the same. The spirit of heavy doom metal and rock. The Prince of Darkness, sure, but really a soul that saw the power of rock, utilized it like a weapon, and utilized it like a staff to guide a flock of music worshipers, to up-and-comers even, shepherding them to a pasture that was new, unexplored, and as untamed as he was. In all of this world of the rock star, it weighs heavy, and the costs can be extreme, but some enter freely into such contracts, and I think, some of us think we all could do it. While it's not a sell one soul to the devil kind of purchase, although it fits the mojo of everything here, it comes at a price of family, the ties of that, friends, managers, as well as the dangers of addictions that are abound and unbound daily to these kind of people. Of all things I've lost, says Ozzy, I miss my mind the most. While it was not taken from him like that of Gord Downey of the Tragically Hip via cancer, Ozzy Osbourne, to be the prince, the leader of the dark heavy brigade, took the persona, took the path, the journey, and paid the toll over and over again. Whether it was with Black Sabbath or his solo career, whether it was appearances, and of course that reality show, he laid it all out, honest as ever. And for this prince, the Dark One, it was one of the most unusual of the dark arts. It was the one of the extreme passion that he had for everything, the love for the art, and those that surrounded him, and those that looked up to him, as well as the fans, but most importantly, his family. There are comparisons I'm not quite sure most of the heavy rock world would understand, but the aforementioned Gord Downey took a similar path to playing last shows before a death he knew was coming, to give back, to perform one last time. And in this case, he went entirely across Canada to do so under excruciating circumstances. But these are what these impressionists do. It's what they were born to do and what gives them life and what life they give to others like myself and the people on our panels and the music buying public and all the collectors out there. I'm joined tonight by two different age brackets in this legendary lifespan of music here we have. One was there when it all emerged, black and rock and soul tampering volumes. The witches were out to stop this madman and his band, supposed Satan worshiping, Tipper Gore kind of love of music, totalitarian, Lawrence Welkism, sugar, sugar, white, clean, and neat, to quote Robert Plant. Let's ask the Grateful Dude, what was that like?
Well, it was awesome. Awesome. I saw my first Ozzy concert with Black Sabbath. I believe it was in 1973. And I didn't like it. I didn't like him at all. I don't know if it was a bad show or what, but I stayed at the show and I listened to the songs. And after the show, I mulled it over and decided to give him a different second chance. And I was blown away completely. I don't know if he was having an off night the first time or what, but the second time and 8 more times, so I saw him a total of 10 times.
10?
10
Wow.
times. Yeah, he played. They played a lot of LA um um shows, a lot of shows. And there was no more than us an hour drive in any direction to go see him. But he was awesome. He was awesome. I'm not gonna come on too much more because you have the information, but personally, he was fabulous. I put him probably number one scream singer, I call it. He was awesome. And I still remember Version's second album they put out, and they were just fabulous. He was fabulous.
I think that, and I look at those album covers as he went into the solo career. I think he had some ties to Meatloaf because some of those covers looked very much like they were drawn by the same person, don't they? Like Bat Out of Hell kind of thing.
They were they shared the same artist for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
but there was a lot, but that's where the similarity stopped.
Yeah.
He was because I saw him with Meatloaf too, and there's nobody, I cannot think of anybody except The only person I can think that was almost as good, let's say almost, is Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
And they both had the same did rock, creepy rock they called it. It was awesome.
Yeah, all based in the blues, but just turned up a notch, heavier, riffier. Yeah. So then there's myself, Born of the Times, but not ready earwise, obviously, because I was born in 72. But I would be privy to solo material the first before, entering Black Sabbath. So I had to take a little bit of a backwards tend. Obviously, too, Black Sabbath at that point was being run and by other musicians at the lead. So it's the power of impression, the longevity in creating something and making it last. And this is forever. However, what about those that come in to this even later in the story, or those that are going to come in after the story, way after the story, and find their way? Would they be drawn to Ozzy like they would be drawn to Bach, John Lennon, Kurt Cobain, or we said Gord Downie? Let's bring in Alex Kaluzny, who is a few decades behind each of us.
I put a lot of thought into this the last couple days because I did come in at the unique time where my ear had to recognize what new to me was not new to the time. And I honestly think I didn't have, and I don't know why this is the case with a lot of things in life. I don't think I had the appreciation for him that I should have until finality hit. I say that because I reflected on a solo career. I reflected on the lead singer of a band career. He didn't do either one to the lesser of the other. He actually did them so much so to the point that it's synonymous, not because of sound, but because of quality, whether it was Ozzy or Black Sabbath. The Black Sabbath departure wasn't even a brutal bloodbath drawn out in media breakup ending that, I mean, as you can tell, resulted in the getting back together of them performing at points. For being the Prince of Darkness, there's an amazing light that shines around him.
Well said.
You don't hear a bad word about him. People reflecting on their interactions with him talk about humor and a warm heart they got from him. We might not have the Kardashians' fame today by reality show if not for the success of the Osbournes.
Yeah, well, that one I'll hold against him, I guess.
Yeah, that one might be his only negative on this, but shows how well that even took off.
Right.
Even into his modern day, even into his last performance, I get that there was age involved in it, but he didn't even sound unlike himself. He still was able to carry that out. Performing Therapy to get into your final show. Even into the newer records. Patient Number 9, I understand probably this had to be touched up in studio. But even some of the stuff that came out in the mid-2000s, early 2010s and whatnot. Mm-hmm. I think another credit to him, too, and you can classify, this isn't necessarily a talent aspect that makes him better or worse than others, but to have your own festival. I mean, you can attribute, Motley Crue did it at points with Crue Fest. To have Ozfest is another thing. I think when it comes to that, it's another showing of how Ozzy was able to incorporate other acts and bands and artists and give them their spotlight and their stage. You see the collaborations he's done, even down to recent with Post Malone. Going back as far as, incorporating Zakk Wylde into things and anywhere he could get his hands on having a flavor. And there's a lot of countless stories of bands saying how thankful they were that he brought them on the road. And I have a hard time believing that wasn't his decision. And I'm sure there was temptations along the way, but another artist who lived a rock star lifestyle, yet successful marriage, 2 kids, a closeness and a bond that if you look at the wedding photos of Ozzy and Sharon, I mean, there's a traditionalism to it.
Yeah.
This doesn't look like a go to Vegas, get hitched because we're rock stars.
Well, or it's set up to, all that. You know what I mean? You see Hollywood stars that walk and they talk and they,
Yeah, but I mean, I think there's just something to the persona of a Prince of Darkness and someone with a Bible in their hand willing to yell at you for one thing, but damn, did he live a different life compared to other rock stars and not to say he didn't do crazy shit, because we know he did.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings me to my final point about him and why I thought it was so great over the course of my life and my 32 years of looking back into him. He has lore. There's legend to him. There's stories. There's something new to him that isn't just, hey, let's put out a record, let's tour it, let's put out another record, let's tour it. And I think all that being said, and kind of thinking about each little individual thing that from reality to delivery to festivals to whatnot, incredible career that I hope that future generations after me are able to pick up on those nuances and understand a different time in an artist that Ozzy was. I appreciate him greater today than I did yesterday and back as far as 5 days ago. And what a way to go out. That final show couldn't have felt more ominous of a thank you. And I don't think there's anything that can be discredited about that either. No. This was a quintessential legend. For him to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when he did was almost a cardinal sin in and of itself, and we know how we feel about the Hall of Fame as it is.
Hall of Fame.
But I mean, this guy should have. Looking back, I mean, this is borderline first ballot, and phenomenal album arts all the way through. I mean, there's just always going to be a legend, and there truly is a void left in music without Ozzy.
Yeah, certainly the foundation of it all in that area. One of the most engaging, powerful, and influential frontmen to rock, but also a distinctive genre of rock. A man with not only the power and work ethic and showmanship to engage rock audiences, but obviously in mass proportion in that regard, but to turn himself inside out in a reality television show and gain a larger audience than even that, right? Usually people be like, oh, that's a jump the shark moment, right? Prince of Darkness, my ass. And no, this was it was just, like you said, a light and everything that is. It's everything he was, wanted to be, father, husband, everything. While we play no music tonight, because of the state of YouTube and the environment it is, and those that have sold their soul to the wrong, very wrong devils, we don't need to, because you already know it. The songs have been playing in your head since you first heard them. Generals gathered in their masses. I'm going off the rails on my crazy train. We need Perry Mason. How do you even come up with that one? No more tears. Mama, I'm coming home. That list is endless. These lines delivered by a vocalist that had to rise above the heavy deliveries, which is kind of incredible, and find kind of these spaces in between, because you can't sing over Randy Rhoads. You can't sing over Zakk Wylde. You can't. This is punishing stuff. You got to
sing alongside Dio.
Yeah. He learned with no formula, just emotion, rawness, and a gut feeling that only he possessed at that point.
I want to talk just a minute about the illness that killed him. Parkinson's disease is an awful disease. I've seen it in a couple of people. It completely destroys the neural system. He had to be um, physically walked out stage on his last concert 2 weeks ago, and sat in uh, a crown like chair,
Mhm.
and that's where he stayed. And he didn't sing every song, but he did sing quite a few.
Um, he had a range that was true. It was kind of dark, divine, in the working man's gloom, though. It hid their outlook. He was I don't know. He was for the working man. He wasn't singing about high end stuff. It was within that frame. A strange impression, but a powerful one that spoke to legions of music lovers that would follow Ozzy anywhere he went musically, even into duets, and musicians that would join him that might have not seemed possible when you think of Ozzy at the beginning of Black Sabbath and those people that were around in that time, you know. But that's the impression he left with and on these type of people. Lita Ford, Rick Wakeman. Yep, Rick Wakeman's on a record. Eric Clapton was on the recent record. Lemmy, Steve Vai, Tom Morello, Jeff Beck, Slash. Alex already mentioned Post Malone, but even Elton John. Now, even Bruce Springsteen, sort of. Bruce actually opened for Sabbath with his band, the Steel Mill, back in 1970. So there's all kinds of avenues that lead to Ozzy. I think the heavy metal and doom rock world will always be glad to pay the debts of Ozzy. His legion will continue to speak. They'll play the catalog of Black Sabbath endlessly and his solo albums. Artists and movie makers will continue to utilize his creative compulsiveness, energy, and inspiration, even though he is no longer with us. Ozzy Osbourne, his impression on the music world never lost. And while he is finally coming home, the voice, the figure, the legend, his diary, if you will always have a place on this spinning sphere because that he was never an ordinary man. He's the great Oz. I'll leave you with this last line of his. I'm not in the band anymore because of musical differences. They were musical. I was different.